After last time, you are hopefully more than a bit excited about learning how to use ACSS to make your web builds so much faster and easier in oh so many ways. So here we're going to get right on and get ACSS set up and installed. This is the process. It's all listed in more detail below the video. You'll grab yourself an ACSS license, you'll download the ACSS plugin and install and activate it. You'll optionally install another plugin called Plaster. Configure ACSS in its settings, doesn't take long, and then just make a few adjustments in Bricks theme style. This really doesn't take long. Seconds, in fact. Again, the detailed steps that you need to take are all listed below the video. By the way, for this short series, we're going to be reproducing my very simple homepage on my own website, which I recently rebuilt with ACSS. It's not a design classic, but it does include examples of all the aspects of ACSS I want to teach you here. Let's get on with it. So your first job is, of course, to grab yourself an ACSS license. There's a link to the ACSS website below, which is my affiliate link, which I'd be grateful for you to use. You don't pay any more, but I get a small payment from the guys at ACSS for sending you their way, which is always appreciated. As I said, the price is an absolute steal for the time and headaches and decision making it's going to save you. And once you're in, you download the latest version of ACSS from your account and install the plugin. So here I have an almost completely fresh default WordPress install, but for speed, I've already gone to add new and uploaded the ACSS zip file I downloaded from my account, and I've activated it. I also popped in my license key, which you'll find in your ACSS account as well. That is all basic and obvious stuff, I should think. And you might notice I also have another plugin installed, Plaster. I'll drop a link below to their website as well. Plaster is actually an add-on for ACSS. Yeah, it's an add-on for an add-on. But it does provide a few features that make ACSS even easier to use. Like when you hover over classes in the classes drop-down, it gives you a preview of that class on the canvas. Very handy. It also gives you a way of creating new classes from existing class names, which is a particular workflow that we'll come to, but it's one that I now use all the time and love. We will come to that later in this series. And also with Plaster, there is an interactive ACSS cheat sheet built right into Bricks. So you just right-click in the classes drop-down and you get a graphical, easy reference that you can just click on to add those styles and classes. And it works not only for classes, but for variables too. Now, Plaster isn't required, as I say, but I love it and find it pretty indispensable, really. So I have both ACSS and Plaster installed. That's it. Well, I also have the Bricks theme installed as well, of course. Now to configure ACSS. All the settings are down here in the automatic CSS menu. All the options for different aspects of the styling are in this menu. It's all really logical. Your first task is in Viewport to set your desired website width. The default is 1280 pixels, although the actual width used on the site itself will be converted to rem for you. You can change this to whatever you want, but whatever it is set at, you need to also match in theme styles in Bricks in a moment, so make a mental note. But that's it for this panel, at least for now. We can come back and tweak all kinds of things later, but the website width is super important. Next, let's come into palette. So here you set your site's color palette, of course. In ACSS, you don't set any color palette in theme style at all. Colors are all handled here, allowing ACSS to automate everything for you. This is brilliant because it provides a framework of preset names which match the names of various color-related classes and variables and button classes. They all match these color names as well. I've actually already started adding my own site's colors to this palette. So the action color, that's what you would want to typically use for buttons. I would strongly recommend, for a few reasons, that you set your desired main button color as action. Now, if your links happen to be the same color, then great, but don't worry if not. Mine aren't. Primary is your main color, so I've gone with this blue. You just click into it and set your color here. Now, secondary and accent Well, I don't actually have any other colours on my site apart from the Action Yellow and the Primary Blue. Well, I do use various shades of those, but those are all automatically generated for me by ACSS, so I don't have to add them as well. So what I can do is just turn those off if I don't use those colours. Base is typically your text colour. I've set mine to this colour here. Notice, by the way, under every colour in the palette, you can see the shades that are also created for each of them. And if you want to edit those further, you can. So you can see here that the hue value and the saturation value for all these are the same, but the L stands for lightness. That's the thing that changes. So here, if I later decide actually ultra light is a bit too ultra light, I could drop the lightness value down to say 93 or 90 or whatever. You don't have to stick with ACSS's defaults if you prefer something different. But for now, just set your main colours and let ACSS calculate the shades. And the final colour to add is shade. And typically you will leave this at black or something very near black. I use shades all the time for creating those nice light grey backgrounds. I often use shade ultra light, for example. But if in doubt, just leave shade at black. Contextual colours, I'll let you explore. I haven't used any of those on the site yet personally. Once you've set your colours, the only remaining main setup task for now is to come into typography and set your root font size. Now you remember what this is from the lesson on REM in the main course, yeah? Setting the site's root font size to 62.5% does make calculating the conversion from pixel to rem much easier because 1 rem is now equal to 10 pixels instead of 16. Now, I know in the course I recommended that we use a root font size of 100%. That was because if we used increments of 0.5 rem, then we'd automatically be in the 8 times table for nice grid layout purposes. But the thing is, ACSS handles all of that for you under the hood anyway, and all spacing is mathematically proportional and fluid from large screens down to small. So there's no real need to set root font size to 100%. Honestly, with ACSS, you don't often need to set actual font sizes or actual spacing values anyway, in pixels or rem. You just use ACSS classes or variables, and they do all the hard work. So I recommend that you just leave this at 62.5%. If you do change it to anything else though, you have to also change it in Bricks theme style as well. That's the basic ACSS setup finished anyway, at least for now. We'll come back and explore everything else soon. Make sure you save your changes. Now, the final task is to make a few adjustments in Bricks theme style. There's hardly anything to do, but to access theme style, let's go and edit a page. I created a blank page here for speed. Into theme style. First job is to create a new theme style set. I'm just going to call this my theme style. Not many things to do here. One of them is to set conditions to use this theme style on the entire site. And then you don't need to attend to anything else until you get down to typography. Here, you just need to make sure that the root font size is set to whatever it was in ACSS. So I don't need to touch this because it's the same. In body typography, don't set a color, don't set a font size, just set your body font family. I'm going to go with Inter for mine. ACSS manages your font sizes, your line heights, your spacing, but it doesn't manage the actual font family. And similarly in all headings. If your headings have a different font family to body, then also set that here. So, for example, I want mine to be Barlow and 900 weight. No need to touch any of the heading typography. And your final setup task here is to come into Container and just set the container width to whatever your site width is in ACSS. So remember, it was 1280 pixels there by default, and I didn't change the default. So you just put the same here, 1280 pixels. And that is it. Nothing else to touch in theme style. Next, let's also make our lives a lot easier by installing the ACSS style guide page. Now this is an optional step, but very useful indeed.